better than that. Who's ready to hear from the next Vice President of America, J.D. Vance? It's so nice to be here. There's so many patriots who love their country and who all stand for the flag, just like our next Vice President, J.D. Vance. So if you'd all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's get out and vote for Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, singing the national anthem, singer, recording artist, Hoekstra Levy.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, their bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Sailors, that star-spangled banner, yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave. Thank you. God bless America. God bless Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michigan GOP Chairman Pete Hoekstra.
Welcome again. It is good to be with you. Thanks for all you do. All right, how many, a simple history quiz. How many of you remember the contract with America? All right, not enough. A few weeks ago with Newt Gingrich. How many of you know Newt Gingrich? All right. A few weeks ago, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of the contract with America. A quick recap was what? The contract with America was an agreement that Republicans in the House of Representatives made with the American people and said, if you give us the opportunity to govern, we will get these things done. And for the first time in 40 years, in 1994, the American people gave us the right to govern. And we delivered. We delivered in 98 days what we said we were going to do in 100. We entered into an era of prosperity, and if you can even believe it, we balanced the budget for 4 years. Can you imagine that today? But for about a period of 6 or 7 years, we set the agenda for America, and somehow Congress lost its way. The great thing about Donald Trump, and it's not Donald Trump, it's collectively what we are going to do. We are going to usher in an era, not 6 or 7 years, but hopefully generations of Americans who recognize that their job and responsibility every day is to make America great and for our kids to make America greater for the future. It is an awesome opportunity and responsibility. And we know how to do it. We will work together. We will respect America. We will make America strong. We will use our resources wisely. Yeah, some people say that would mean drill, baby, drill. All right? We will use our resources wisely. We will unleash the potential of the American people, unleash the potential of small business people. We will respect America and we will respect its borders. But the goal here is, yes, in the short term, in 12 days, we will elect Donald Trump, and Michigan will lead the way in electing Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States of America. For the first time since 1994, Michigan will elect a Republican senator with Mike Rogers to make sure that Donald Trump has a majority in the U.S. Senate. We will re-elect John James. We will elect Paul Young. We will elect Tom Barrett so that he has a majority in the House of Representatives. And we're also going to elect a few of these folks called State House Representatives so that Republicans will be able to stop this crazy agenda of Gretchen Whitmer and start putting Michigan back on the right track when we take the majority of the House of Representatives. You know, it was 6 months ago that I started this journey as being your state party chairman right here in this building. It was February. It was cold for those of you that were here. It was brutal, but Donald Trump came out and gave an awesome speech. We kicked this off, and we moved from that night to where we are today. We are on the precipice of getting all of those things done in 12 days and ushering in an era of prosperity and peace to the United States of America. Go out and work for the next 12 days. It will be well worth it. Your kids and grandkids will remember what we did on November 5, but more importantly, they will remember what we will have done with 4 more years of Donald Trump's leadership. Again, thank you for all you have done.
Ladies and gentlemen, founder of Auto Workers for Trump, Brian Pannebecker.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Pete. Listen, my job, I guess, up here today is to get you guys updated on what's going on with the UAW and the auto workers in Macomb County. We got a few of them back here in my Auto Workers for Trump t-shirts. Give them a big hand because these guys are working hard every day, and guess what? Their jobs and their livelihood are on the line. So we are going to win Macomb County in large part because of the auto workers' efforts. There's railroad tracks that run north and south through Macomb County. I know we're in Oakland County, and a lot of you folks aren't familiar with it over there, but those auto plants are lined up on either side of those railroad tracks. And I got some bad news. The layoffs are going out left and right. I'm doing a rally in front of a different auto plant. I've been doing it since Memorial Day. We've been doing one a week. A couple of weeks ago, we started doing 2 a week as we got closer to the election. I'm talking to the auto workers when they come in and out. There's very, very good support among the UAW members for Trump and Vance. So do not believe what you see in the newspapers. Do not believe what you see coming out of Sean Fain's mouth. He may have endorsed Kamala Harris, but the membership of the UAW is voting Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, we had a rally today. I came here straight from the Sterling Stamping Plant, which is a Chrysler plant. Chrysler is owned by Stellantis, but that is not a Stellantis plant. That's Chrysler. They've been owned by Mercedes. They've been owned by Fiat. Now they're owned by another foreign company, Stellantis. And they're not doing any good for Chrysler. Those people are getting laid off by the thousands. And a lot of it is because of the EV mandates of the Biden-Harris administration. So we're fighting that. We're fighting that big time. We're trying to educate those people and motivate them. So you don't have to worry about the UAW guys. They're going to vote for Donald Trump. What we need to be concerned with is every one of you have a sphere of influence. There's 10 or 12 people that listen to you because you're politically tuned in. That's why you're here tonight. So when we leave this rally, after we hear J.D. Vance speak, we have a job to do. We have 12 days to talk to everybody that's in our sphere of influence. And I'm talking about neighbors, friends, family, and coworkers. You've got to get out and talk to them and educate them. The EV mandates of the Harris-Biden administration will destroy the domestic auto industry. Some of you have probably been to the Woodward Dream Cruise on Woodward. Anybody? All right. That rumble, those classic cars, the domestic auto industry has helped build the middle class, not just in Michigan, but in the entire United States. But here in Michigan, everybody's jobs are somehow related to the auto industry, no matter what you do. So we all depend on the auto industry. We've got to save it. We've got to save it. We've been in decline. The UAW membership's been going downhill for about 40 years because plants have quietly been closing and then reopening in Mexico, sometimes as close as 10 miles south of the border. And then they export that exact same product back into the United States. Well, there's only one candidate for president that's going to stop that, and he knows how to do it with tariffs. He is not going to let China build big mega plants just south of our border and ship EVs into this country. So we have a capitalist economy in the United States. Supply and demand. We demand, we're the consumers, we demand what we want. And then the auto manufacturers supply it by building that. That's called market capitalism. Okay, we're not a socialist economy where the government steps in and says, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to build so many of those. That doesn't work. So what we're going to do is fight that, and the thing we have to do to prevent that from happening is to elect Donald J. Trump president and not let Kamala Harris get anywhere near the White House. So I've been doing these rallies every week in front of different auto plants. We set up outside the hourly parking lot where the UAW workers come out when they get off shift. A lot of times they have to stop to get out onto the main road. They roll their windows down. We're getting thumbs up, fist pumps. They're tooting their horns. The traffic going by on the main roads. The truckers are all blowing their air horns. The energy level is amazing. And not just of the people driving by, but the people coming out of these plants. So everybody's fired up. So we have 12 days left. When we leave here tonight, I want every one of you to commit to talk to your 10 closest neighbors, family, friends, and tell them we have to get everybody we know to get out and vote early. A lot of people will not even know that Michigan passed a law to where we can vote 9 days before the election in person. It's not absentee voting, it's in-person early voting. It'll be at a central location at your township clerk or your city clerk's office, not at your normal voting location. That'll start this coming Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday, that whole week and the following weekend, you can go vote. One phone call and you'll know where to go. If you live in a township, it'll be at your township clerk's office. If you live in the city, it'll be your city clerk's office. But it's just like voting on election day. You go in, you show your ID, you fill out the little card, then you go in your booth, you fill out your ballot, then you feed it into the machine. It's just like voting on election day. So it's not like absentee voting. So everybody that you talk to, tell them, this is not absentee voting, this is early in-person voting. We want every one of you here who haven't voted yet. Is there anybody here who hasn't voted yet? Good, good. So you didn't vote absentee. So go vote early in person this coming weekend. The minute you voted, you start going through your phone list, your contacts. You text people. So you say, hey, I just voted. We can vote in person. This is not absentee. So start going through your phone list. Talk to your sphere of influence. Explain to them what they got to do. We need to get our turnout up so high that the Democrats can't cheat enough to beat Trump and Vance. So one last thing I want to mention. We did a rally today in Sterling Heights at the Sterling Stamping Plant. One of my Auto Workers for Trump guys that works at that plant is here with me, and he'll back me up on this. We had planned this rally a couple of weeks ago. It was just a coincidence. He calls me this morning and says, Brian, you're never going to believe this. We've got a scheduled fire drill, training fire drill. You know how they do them periodically, once or twice a month, so you know what to do if the fire alarm goes off and there's a fire in the building. It's right smack in the middle of the 3 hours that we're going to be outside waving our Trump flags. And guess what? I had Rob Cordes there with his Trump Unity Bridge, you know, the float. So he's outside with us, and the fire alarm goes off. They're doing the mock drill. 1,000 UAW members come outside into the parking lot, and crazy Rob Cordes drives his Trump Unity Bridge into the parking lot and starts driving around in circles, and he's on his microphone. Save the auto industry, vote for Trump and Vance. And security eventually had to chase him out. But you tell me that fire drill wasn't an act of God. Just like Donald J. Trump turning his head at the exact second to avoid that bullet. We're going to win this election, but Trump and Vance can't do it without every single one of you doing your job. So leave here tonight, vote this coming weekend, and then get busy and get to work. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing Michigan's 10th District, Congressman John James.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Bright, smiling faces. Great, because we have a fight in our hands, but you are equal to the task. I'm so glad to be with you here today, and I'm proud to welcome our next Vice President, J.D. Vance, back to our great state of Michigan. In less than 2 weeks, and just this once, I will help a Buckeye win in a Wolverine state. Just this once. And not just J.D. Vance and President Donald J. Trump, but all of the Republicans up and down the ticket. J.D. Vance represents a story that so many Michiganders have experienced. He's from the Midwest, just like us. His story is like something we all share. At its core, it's marked by the failures of the D.C. ruling class and the resilience of the American people. J.D. Vance grew up in a small Midwestern town which seen its jobs and livelihoods neglected and shipped overseas. It had been ravished with hopelessness, addiction, and neglect. Good-paying Midwestern jobs were eliminated in favor of cheap foreign labor and cheap foreign goods. Sound familiar, Michigan? When 9/11 happened, J.D. Vance answered the call to service, just like thousands of young Midwesterners, including myself, and I'm proud to be a fellow veteran who served with J.D. Vance. As Midwesterners, and particularly as Michiganders, we also know that we have been forgotten by the D.C. swamp that is running this country and our communities into the ground. For far too long, politicians have decimated our livelihoods, devalued our dollar, sent our jobs overseas, buried our kids under $35 trillion in debt, and shipped our young men and women off to war. Enough. Enough. We stop this now. This election, you have the opportunity to send a message to the D.C. elites that you will not stand by silently while they force the same failures of the last 20 years down our throats. Michigan is already seeing our jobs, especially our auto jobs, leaving the state. Brian Pannebecker just stated from the UAW ground level, now, you're seeing these jobs because of the EV mandates being pushed out of our state and pushed out of our country. But you know what we are getting from south of the border? 100,000 fentanyl deaths and poisonings from the American people. Kamala Harris, the border czar, the failed border czar, has left our border wide open, and now she wants to build a wall. Well, what's she been doing the past 3.5 years while we've let 10 million people into our borders? What's she been doing when she sent $14.9 billion in your Medicare for illegals? What's she been doing when Ruby Garcia got killed? What's she been doing when Officer Dillard got killed? She's been out there in the position to do something about it and has failed, and she should not get a promotion. We must not let the American dream go further and further out of reach for so many. It can't happen, and it won't happen under the leadership of President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Never before have we seen such distinction between candidates. But see, this is the thing. We don't even have to imagine better times. We just have to remember. 4 years of Kamala Harris's failed leadership brought us massive inflation, EV mandates, two wars, and a world in chaos. A weakened America where our enemies, both foreign and domestic, now feel emboldened enough to attempt to assassinate a former president and future American president twice. Well, you know what? President Donald J. Trump needs this job like he needs a hole in the head. But when he got shot, he stood up and told us exactly what we need to do. Fight, 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 fight. Our republic is under attack from inside and outside, and it's up to we the people to answer the call of this generation. 4 years of Donald Trump brought us a booming economy, a secure border, a reinvigorated manufacturing base across the Midwest. Jobs and opportunity coming to us, not leaving us. The Abraham Accords making real peace in the Middle East, and a possibility our enemies feared us and our allies respected us, and now it's exactly the opposite. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is simple. We have 12 days to spread this message far and wide. This truly will be an election that's decided by you, decided by turnout. We know the Democrats are going to do whatever they can to turn Michigan blue. So we need every single conservative and common sense voter to get out and vote. Encourage your friends and family to do the same. Whatever it is you have to do, just make sure you are also doing your part. Also, if it would help, we do have resources out there to secure this election. Go to vote.johnjames.com to learn when to vote, how to vote, make a plan to vote early, and see what we are doing to make this election more secure. Look, but see, here's the problem. As I say this, somebody in this room is not going to vote. Somebody in this room is going to wait until the last minute to vote, and something's going to come up. The Lions are playing the Titans this weekend, y'all. All right, so I'm going to talk. Look, I'm a big Lions fan, big Lions fan. Yes, we're going to win it all. We're going to win it all. But see, imagine if our boy Dan Campbell said, you know what, we're going to let the Titans run up the score for 3.5 quarters, and then in the last few minutes, we're going to try and win the game. Wouldn't that sound crazy? Well, that's exactly what so many of us do. That's exactly what so many of us do. We wait until the last moment, let the Democrats run up the score, and then we wake up the next morning and we're surprised when we've fallen behind. Well, we can't let that happen. We will secure the election, but we also need to turn out our friends and family. 1.7 million conservatives couldn't be bothered to vote in 2020 and 2022. That's on us, y'all. That's on us. Of the 800,000 registered hunters in this state, only 300,000 voted. Y'all like your Second Amendment rights? Vote for them. I really appreciate you, but this is not up to one man. This is up to all of us. President Trump was willing to take a bullet for our country. We need to be willing to go to the polls for America. So thank you so much, Michigan. Vote Trump Vance, vote John James, vote Mike Rogers for Senate, and let's take our state and our country back. God bless America. Let's fly.
you to come to know and love. A great hymn of adoration. It's a Swedish hymn, written in 1886. How great thou art. Here in Melbourne, we have two crusade choirs. The ones you see on the platform this afternoon down here have the red identification badge on, and we have a green choir which will be here tomorrow. We had over 1,400 of them registered. And we know that you'll enjoy their ministry and songs. And just now, we're going to ask them to come. Shake the compliment choir to join them in singing. How great thou art.
Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the world thy hand sets me, I see the stars thy herald rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. God, his Son, not sparing, sent him to die. I scarce meant him to be. On the cross, my burden gladly carrying, let it die, take away my sin.
at hospital emergency rooms because we've let in so many people that the American citizenry can't get access to health care at their own hospitals. Let's have compassion for those American citizens. And let's have compassion for the millions of young Americans who would like to buy a home but can't because housing is unaffordable in the United States of America. And this is something, my friends, the press never wants to talk about this, but here, if you want to solve the housing problem, if you want to make housing more affordable for America's people, you got to do two things. Number one, cut out the ridiculous regulations, lower energy costs, and build more housing. That's number one. You got to build more housing. But number two, you got to make sure that American homes go to American citizens, not to people who have no legal right to be in this country. Think about this. When you let 25 million people in your country, you got to put them somewhere. And we know, by the way, that a lot of them are staying in five-star hotels at taxpayer expense, but a lot of them are taking homes that ought by right go to American citizens. Look, I don't begrudge anybody who wants to come to the United States and make a better life for themselves, but number one, you got to come through proper channels and you got to do it the right way. And number two, we need an American president who recognizes the first responsibility of that president is to the American citizenry. We need Donald J. Trump back in the White House. I mean, it's so amazing because I've been running for vice president all of about 3 months. And you get a perspective on this country that will make you so hopeful and so optimistic. I have so much faith in the American people, in your dreams, in your talents, in your abilities. And then on the other hand, I'm so frustrated because those dreams and talents are being held back by the broken leadership of Washington, D.C. I hope that all of us, as frustrated as we sometimes get with Kamala Harris's leadership, as much as we are sometimes angry that Kamala Harris is promising to do more of the same, more of the same inflation, more of the same high grocery prices, more of the same open border, that when we get Kamala Harris out of the Oval Office, we're going to have a golden age of prosperity under Donald Trump's leadership. I really believe that. We got the best people. We just got to set them free. But here is the crazy thing about what we've done to this country. We've got 425,000 criminal illegal immigrants in the United States of America. That's an unbelievable number. That's more than twice the size. I'm proud to have served 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. That's more than twice the size of the United States Marine Corps. And then we got some Marines over here. Thank you for your service, sir. Well, that's okay. We gave the Marines a shout out. We got in the Army. We got some soldiers in here. All right, go Army. Thank you for your service. How about the Air Force? We got any Air Force folks in here. There we go. My friend Fallon. How many sailors? We got any sailors? There we go. And I know we're in Michigan. We got to have some Coast Guardsmen in the great state of Michigan. God bless you guys. Thank all of you for your service. And here's the thing that, we have got to do a better job at, is we got to do a better job at reminding Americans and the people who put on the uniform that we respect, we love them, we admire them, and we're going to fight for them. And what kind of message does it send to American veterans when thousands of them are sleeping under bridges and on park benches, but we've got 425,000 illegal criminal migrants in the United States of America? It sends the wrong message. But we're going to send a message when Donald Trump is president that we respect and honor every person who put on the uniform in this country, and we're going to fight for you, and we're going to fight for your safety, for your security, and for your prosperity. Now, I'm going to open the floor up to some media questions here in a second, but I want to leave you with one final thought before we take some questions from the reporters. I really believe, I talked to Pete Hoekstra about this earlier today, I'm not BSing you, I think we're going to win the state of Michigan, and we're going to win the whole presidency for this country. I really do. There's a but. There's a but. We're only going to win if we get out there and vote. And not just get ourselves out there and vote, but get our friends and family out to vote too. So I'm going to make 3 requests of you before we turn the floor over to the reporters and ask some questions. Number 1, I want every single person in this room, in this hangar, to get out there and vote 10 times. Now it's going to be a Washington Post headline: Vance encourages voter fraud in Michigan. Here's the legal way. The legal way that we're going to vote 10 times is we're going to take ourselves to the polls, and we're going to take 9 friends and family along with us. That is the good old-fashioned legal way to vote 10 times. Because you even just go back to 2020, you look at the margins on some of these states. If every single person in here gets 10 voters to the polls, that could be the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump sitting in the Oval Office for the next 4 years. And I know all of us, we want to wake up on November the 6th, yes, victorious, but knowing that we did everything that we could to get Donald J. Trump across the finish line. So get out there and get everybody to vote. That's request number 1. Now, request number 2 is, I know a lot of you, I've seen you already take photos already. I want you before the end, maybe while I'm taking questions from reporters, maybe you want to take a selfie, go out there and post it on whatever social media you use. Even if it's just texting and emailing people, tell them why you're voting for Donald J. Trump. Because think about this. A lot of people are never going to hear the truth, not from the Kamala Harris campaign, and certainly not from their corporate media allies, but they can hear the truth from their friends and family. So let's commit to telling the truth over the next 12 days that Donald Trump is the president of peace and of prosperity for the American people. And here's the final request, and I want to read this to make sure I get it right. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. That is a website, SwampTheVoteUSA.com. And you know on that website you can get information about requesting an absentee ballot, about where to vote, about checking your registration. We had in-person early voting begins everywhere in Michigan this Saturday. Right, Pete? That's right, okay? Now look, I'm the world's biggest critic of election season over election day. But as Donald Trump says, it is what it is. And if Kamala Harris's folks are going to use every method they can to get people to the polls, Republicans, we got to do the exact same thing. The rules are the rules. We're going to win this game. We're going to win this game by playing by the rules, but not if everybody waits to vote until Election Day. Okay? We got to get out there and vote and bank as many votes as possible. I had a person earlier. We started out today. We did a town hall outside of Detroit, and then we went and did the Oakland County GOP headquarters, where people were working hard and phone banking, and I was really proud of them and really glad to spend some time with them. But the thing that we've got to remember is that the Democrats are trying to bank as many votes as possible before Election Day, right? They're trying to go into the game with the score as good for them as possible, so why don't we do the exact same thing and get out there and vote and make our voices heard? We got to do it. So if we do those things, we're going to win this election. We're going to give the American people a president that is actually fit to lead the greatest country in the world. We're going to win Michigan, and we're going to win the United States of America. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me. I love this state, and I'll be back soon. Thank you all. Now, before we leave, we'll take a few questions from the reporters. Let's start with the local folks, as we always do, and if we've got time, we'll go to the national pool afterwards.
Senator, good evening. My name's Dave Kinchin. I'm a reporter with Fox 2 in Detroit, sir. As you know, These polls are very tight, especially right here in Michigan within the margin of error. My question, sir, I wanted to get your reaction to President Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, who told the New York Times that Trump would rule like a dictator and meets the definition of a fascist. Just want to get your reaction, sir.
Yeah, look, you could just record the boos of the crowd, and that's my response to that question. Look, here's the thing about what John Kelly said. John Kelly was fired by Donald Trump, and he's pissed off about it, and he won't stop talking about it. Now, look. Here's the thing. Every time that John Kelly says something happened, you've got 3 or 4 people who were allegedly in the room when it happened saying he's making it up. Even Mike Pence's chief of staff said that John Kelly is making up a bunch of crap about Donald J. Trump. So who do we believe? Do we believe multiple eyewitnesses, or do we believe a disgruntled ex-employee? I believe the multiple eyewitnesses. I think everything that John Kelly said is not true. But I also think, look, you guys are reporters, and I think a lot of the folks here know how this works. John Kelly didn't come out of his own volition. I guarantee he talked to somebody on Kamala Harris's campaign beforehand. And we got to ask ourselves, why are the media, and most importantly, why is Kamala Harris talking about a disgruntled former employee instead of the fact that under her leadership, grocery prices are up 25% in the state of Michigan? Instead of talking about something that happened 5 years ago, why doesn't Kamala Harris talk about what happened 2 years ago when she cast the deciding vote on trillions of dollars in new spending and made housing, energy, and groceries unaffordable for the people of Michigan? And I not as a vice presidential contender or as a political candidate in this race, I speak as an American citizen, and I am offended for my fellow American citizens when a person is running for president of the United States, not on what she's going to do for the American people, but on a bunch of petty grievances from years ago. Talk about the future, Kamala Harris. Talk about what you want to do, and shut the hell up about what happened 4 years ago. Next question.
Hi, Senator John King.
That's loud.
I am a loud person. John King with Michigan Advance. You were talking about the centerpiece of former President Trump's economic plan being tariffs. Could you maybe explain more in terms of tariffs are paid by the consumer? In fact, putting a tariff on anything is a tax on American consumers. So if you could explain that, if that's wrong, explain how a tariff is not paid by the consumer.
Here's why this is wrong. So first of all, let me give you a very precise example, and then 2, let me try to understand the theory behind it. Number 1, we actually already had a president who imposed tariffs on China, who brought back American manufacturing, and when that president, Donald J. Trump, was president, inflation was 1.5%. So we know that tariffs can protect American workers and also keep inflation low. That's the first thing. The second thing here is we have to ask ourselves, okay, let's say you're a factory and you're deciding whether to invest in the United States of America or to manufacture in China using literal slave labor. I mean, people making $3 a day. I don't want American workers making $3 a day. I want them to earn the kind of wage that can support a family, okay? So here's the thing. You make the stuff in China at $3 a day, and then you try to bring it into the United States and you undercut the wages of American workers. But if you impose a fat tariff on people who are trying to import that stuff, then American factories and American corporations invest in American workers. That creates good jobs, it creates good products, and it makes us more self-reliant. Because here, we have to remember the same people that said that tariffs always lead to price increases are the same people who said that it would make our country richer if we let China and Mexico manufacture all of our stuff. Now, we all should have learned the hard way during the COVID pandemic. Remember, when hospitals couldn't get hospital gowns and surgical masks for their surgeons because all that crap was made in China. So Americans are paying more for health care. We don't have the medicine and the equipment that we need. We're poorer off, and we're also more reliant on our biggest adversary in the world. That is not a path to prosperity. That is a path ultimately to national slavery. Donald Trump's economic agenda is the path to prosperity and freedom for American people.
Senator, hi. My name is Rudolph Snyder with 7 News Detroit, the ABC affiliate here in Detroit.
Thank you.
With the auto industry such a main focus of tonight, I wanted to ask you, what does the future of the auto industry look like for you in 10, in 20 years? Is there any room for EVs or hybrids?
Oh, sure. I think there's a huge amount of room for EVs and hybrids, but for EVs and hybrids that are hopefully made in the United States of America. And now, look, this part of the reason that tariffs matter is they also give us leverage in negotiating against our competitors. Now, you go to Europe or you go to China, how many American automobiles do you see on the roads? Very, very few, because they have decided to protect their native manufacturing industries, whereas under Kamala Harris's leadership, we basically said, you're on your own. We're going to let foreign corporations and foreign countries poach our industries. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, here's what I think it's going to look like. But the important point is, it doesn't matter what J.D. Vance or even Donald Trump thinks the industry is going to look like in 15 years. American consumers ought to make the decisions about what cars they want to drive. And they're going to determine what the industry looks like in 10 or 15 years. But I think that probably what it looks like is that you've got a lot of people driving gas-powered cars. You've got probably 20% of the country that it's driving some kind of an EV or a hybrid, and that's about how it shakes out, because that's what I think the American people want. And fundamentally, the Donald Trump economic agenda is about empowering Americans to make their own choices about what they want to buy and how they want to live, and that's how we're going to pursue our economic policy. Thank you.
Hi, Senator. My name is Hannah Mackey with the Detroit News. You've spoken out against Chinese battery maker Gotion coming to Michigan. Do you have any reaction to the Politico story that says Gotion was paying Trump campaign manager Susie Wiles' lobbying firm nearly $1 million?
No, I don't have a comment because I've never seen that story. I will certainly read that story and try to understand what's going on there. But what I will say is that President Trump and and by the way, you know, I forgot to give a shout out to is the great Senate candidate Mike Rogers, who's doing a hell of a job. And I think that we ought to get out there and vote for him. But I think the simple fact is that we want American businesses to hire American workers and to invest in the American economy. That's what we want. The problem with the Goshen facility is fundamentally we're talking about Chinese investment, which doesn't make us more self-reliant. In fact, I think it probably makes us more reliant on the Communist Chinese Party. The whole principle behind Donald Trump's approach to economics is that if we're more self-reliant as a people, think about that. That means fewer people who are on welfare and more people who have a dignified middle-class job. That means that if we, God forbid, get into a war, we can make our own weapons that our troops are carrying instead of relying on some foreign corporation. Let me give you two statistics that really ought to scare the hell out of us, my friends. Manufacturing GDP, China controls 32% of manufacturing GDP. The United States controls 18% of it. We used to be the manufacturing power of the entire world. We're going to get back there under Donald Trump's leadership. Let me give you a second statistic that should worry us. Last year, for the first time in a very long time, America became a net importer of our food. You know what that means? That we import more food than we grow for our own people. So the Kamala Harris pathway is we don't make our own stuff. We don't even grow the food that is necessary to feed our own people. That is a pathway of reliance on the worst people in the world. I want Americans to be reliant on each other and on our own citizens. Let's do one more question.
Hi, my name is Darylyn Horn. I work with WWJ News Radio in Detroit. Stellantis is not an American-owned company, so how will you hold the CEOs accountable and help those people who were laid off?
Well, I think that while Stellantis is not an American company, they do business in America, so they have to actually follow American rules, follow American laws, and respect American workers. And that's what Donald Trump and I are going to fight to make happen. And I think it's very simple. The thing that we want is that we want to make sure that corporations that are operating in this country actually obey our laws. One of the biggest problems, right, and one of the reasons that, Chinese firms are able to undercut the wages of American workers is they don't obey our environmental laws, right? We want clean air and clean water. But if a Chinese corporation is doing business in a very dirty way, that poisons our environment and destroys the wages of our workers. If they're not paying their workers a decent wage, they're undercutting the wages of American workers. We have got to become more self-reliant. We've got to protect our own country, our own people, and our own economy. And that's the Donald Trump plan. Now, let me leave you with a final thought here. And, look, I recognize that we've got just 12 days or, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, 11 days and a wake up. That's how long we have. And it's getting down to the wire and I'm getting excited about it, but it's also hard to believe we're so close to the end. Here's what I'd ask you to do. I'd ask you to think of yourselves as fighters, but fighters not just for a cause or for a set of ideas, and especially not for political candidates. I want you to think of yourself as fighters for your fellow Americans. Because there are a lot of people here that aren't at this rally, but a lot of people in the state of Michigan that desperately need better leadership in Washington, D.C. I remember when I was a kid, and I was raised by my grandmother, as a lot of you know, because my mom struggled with drug addiction for a big chunk of my early life. And I remember, because Ohio gets not quite as cold as Michigan, but gets pretty cold in the winter. And I remember sometimes, if times were especially tight, my grandmother, I called her Mamaw, Mamaw would say, you know what, we're not going to turn on the heater tonight. We're going to throw a few extra blankets on the bed, and that's how we're going to get through this winter with our finances still intact. And I happen to believe that we have got the richest and most bountiful energy reserves anywhere in the entire world. If you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to heat your home in a cold winter night. That's what we're fighting for. I've talked to mothers who have lost their kids to, their kid was 15 and took something under peer pressure, and then that child lost his life because a bag of marijuana or something else was laced with fentanyl. And so what would have been 20 years ago an innocent childhood mistake, you maybe wake up with a headache or a lecture from your parents, is now costing a lot of American children their lives. And I met another woman a few weeks ago who told me, she was a retiree, her husband was close to retiring, that they had this tradition where they would do steak night. For 40 years, they would do steak night every Friday night. And I'm not talking about going to a fancy steakhouse. I'm talking about going to the grocery store, buying a nice steak, and having that be their thing. And I think all of us know it's those little rituals with our family that actually make life worth living. Well, she stopped doing steak night last year because under Kamala Harris's policies, groceries just got too expensive. And so something that she had done that gave meaning to her family life for 40 years, she stopped doing because groceries got too expensive. And so over the next 11 days, think about what we're fighting for. We're fighting for that woman to be able to have steak night with her husband on Friday. We're fighting for a kid like me, for his grandmother to be able to turn the heat on when it gets really cold at night. We're fighting for American children to grow up in neighborhoods that are safe enough where they can make a mistake and not have it cost their lives. And the way that we are going to make their lives better is to give the American people a president who is fit to lead this great nation. Vote Donald J. Trump and make sure your friends and family do too. God bless you all. Thank you for having me. I'll see you soon, Michigan.